And thank you so much for tuning in this evening to What Matters Most. Today is October 17th, 2018, and I believe today is a historical moment for Cannabis Canada. So for everyone that's excited about that, congratulations. We have a great show lined up for you today. We've got some interesting entrepreneurs and innovators in our city that are going to teach us something new, and you're going to learn right here at What Matters Most tonight. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my first guest. His name is Matthew Elliott. How are you doing today, Matthew?
I am very well, Heather. How are you?
I am fantastic, because we're starting off our show talking about food.
Yes.
And I'm a big foodie. I love food. So
it's a good subject.
Everybody talks about this type of catering.
Well, we got to eat.
Restaurant. Exactly. You got it. So you're starting a business. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your business entrepreneurship. So, and what the name of it and all that. So tell us all.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the company's called Ethel and Mary's.
Okay.
And eventually it's going to be a restaurant. I'm hoping to open in spring 2020.
Okay.
Is my goal. And we want to do simple, recognizable food. You know, a little bit nostalgic. Very New Brunswick. We want to do New Brunswick food straight out of your grandmother's recipe collections and New Brunswick cookbooks and things like that. But we want to do it sourcing locally and working with local farmers and local purveyors. And we want to cook seasonally. And essentially, I'd like to have a place with a chalkboard menu that changes every day based on what's available, and cooking, you know, homey, from scratch food in a really inviting atmosphere. That's really the goal at the end of the day.
Excellent. So whereabouts are you thinking of once you're ready to start an intro into a restaurant? Where are you planning on that?
I'd like to open in Uptown.
Uptown.
That's
wow.
the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
I like for the restaurant to exist somewhere uptown, and then we'll see what happens down the road with other ventures. But I'd really like to build a physical space in the center of the city that I'm hoping will last for a long time, you know.
Excellent.
Ethel and Mary's is really sort of in tribute to my grandmothers, and part of the idea is that I'd really like for there to just be sort of a tribute to them in the city, and to sort of cement their spot here and what they did here for us. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So did you used to go to your grandmother's and cook beside them, or did they teach you some tricks with the kitchen, or how did that all inspire you?
Well, my grandmother on my mother's side lived beside us growing up, and both my parents worked multiple jobs, and so she was really sort of the other mom, and there were no grandfathers in the conversation. So we saw her every day, and she cooked for us every day, and she was both of my grandmothers on both sides were very much the matriarchs in their families.
Okay.
So big Christmas dinners, big Thanksgiving dinners, and, you know, there was always a discussion about, you know, Nanny Elliott's gravy, or, you know, Nanny Mara's turkey soup.
Right.
And, you know,
or
things
famous,
like that.
The famous stuffing. Or
exactly.
Right? It's like they can't be like my grandmother's.
Yeah, I think you don't, like, when I first got into cooking seriously, I didn't really realize that that kind of is where it came from.
Okay.
You sort of think of it as like it's almost like a cliche in the chef world that, like, you learn from your grandmother. But I think we all come around to it at one point or another and realize that that's our touchstone, and that's really where the inspiration comes from. So the idea of cooking locally, you know, my grandmother picked local fruit, apples and cranberries and pears, and, you know, she made preserves in her kitchen and kept them in the basement. And, you know, my dad had a vegetable, I almost said a vegetable farm, a vegetable garden in the backyard that I used to run down to as a kid and pick cucumbers out of, and, you know, wash them in the sink and eat them. So I think I never really considered all of that in my early 20s, but, you know, every year that goes by, you start to get more comfortable with what you want to cook and what you want to do in the community as well. And I think I'd like the restaurant to be a reflection of that past and that connection to food and family. And I'd like for it to be kind of like a family place a little bit.
Okay. So what kind of atmosphere are you looking at? Is it going to be like community tables where everybody sits together in your mind?
I'm considering that, but I think I'd like it to change for the occasion a little bit. I like the idea of doing big group dinners. Like I definitely would like that to take place in the restaurant, but I don't know. There's so many
ways you could go.
Yeah.
Well, if you're especially if you're going to think about going in the uptown sector of St. John,
right?
Because where are you from directly?
I'm from St. John. I actually grew up in Evandale, outside of the city, but I've spent most of my life in St. John in the city.
St. John.
So, yeah.
And have you had much history with the chef side of things, and where'd you get your skills from?
Well, I started working in fast food when I was in high school, of course. I worked at McDonald's.
Oh, I think we all did.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah. And, it's the funniest thing. I really liked it.
Yes.
And I liked it more than school. I felt more at home while I was at work than I did at school. And I did quite well. I was good at my job. And as the years went on, I kept, getting deeper and deeper into food and getting more comfortable and more excited about it. And I think at this point I've done just about any kind of thing you can imagine. I've cooked, lunch for students at a school now. I've done really high-end cuisine for wealthy people. I've cooked supper for Metallica once.
Oh, that's
I've done all kinds of weird stuff.
Wow.
But it's funny now, I just kind of want to cook what my grandmother's cooked.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just kind of want Nanny Elliott's sandwiches, or, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That's really what I'm excited about, and I'm really excited to learn more and more about what we have locally, food-wise, and what you can forage and what you can source. And I've been meeting farmers and really starting to get to know better, like, the food culture here, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're going to be an uptown business eventually, and that may be in the near future. Let's hope. But you're actually sourcing local from the surrounding countryside, I guess you could say, from like Sussex to St. Stephen or wherever you're going from.
Yeah.
So that's really it's a nice flair to have, and to have that home cooked. I don't know if for sure, and I don't want to upset anybody, but I don't believe we have like a grandma's kitchen uptown. Like, we really don't have that.
No, I don't think so.
Unique, right?
I think it's something that we could use,
Yeah.
Of course, that's my hope, that we could use it. I'm really hoping to provide that sort of atmosphere. I've been involved in the food industry for so long, and I don't want to say anything bad about any style of cuisine or style of dining, but for me, I'm not so much excited about the formality of dining out, and it can be fun, of course, and it has its place and everything, but I really like to build a place that you could go to all the time.
Right, sort of that laid back, kind of relaxed, but
with a high quality of food.
Exactly. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, you mentioned to me about a pop-up.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Yeah. In trying to spread the word about the company and the brand and get people excited and familiar with what we're trying to do, we're having a pop-up restaurant at Mahogany Manor on Germain Street.
Okay.
So Mahogany Manor, of course, is a gorgeous and wonderful little bed and breakfast on Germain Street. And the owners there are graciously allowing us to use their venue for the evening on October 27th at 6 p.m. And we're going to do a 4-course meal of locally sourced food. And then at the end, Adam Washburn is going to play. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of live music at the end.
Okay. So where would you be able to purchase tickets for something like that, Flair?
So if you'd like to attend, it's you can just go to EthelAndMarys.com.
Okay.
And there's a tab at the top of the page that says Pop-Up Volume 1.
Okay.
And it's just a submission form.
Oh, I see.
So there's all the information about the menu and the time and place and the price. And then there's just a submission form, very simple, with your name and your contact info and how many people you'd like to attend with,
Sure.
like size of your party, and you just submit that, and it comes right to me, and I put you in the book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you'll respond back saying that you've got a seat. You
Yeah,
get the
so
official
you
invite.
receive yes, you'll receive more info once you submit as well.
Okay.
with the details.
Excellent. Here's a little question for you. And I've recently had an opportunity. My daughter has just been newly engaged. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And she's been talking about caterers. And it's quite off-site. It's where they want to be.
Right.
Do you feel that most catering can travel? Like, how are you with traveling? So if somebody's watching today or tonight and understanding that you do a lot of the catering side, especially with Ethel and Mary's style of food, how far can you go?
Well, it really depends. But we've gone pretty far before. We were talking about before the cameras turned on. We were talking about how I work with Joe Burns at Busy Day Chefs, and we do quite a bit of catering and weddings and things like that. And we've gone pretty far outside of the city before, for sure. So,
like with electricity, without electricity, can you do it all?
Yeah, pretty much. We've done. We've brought a barbecue and just kind of done it that way. And if you're flexible a little bit about the style of food, you can pretty much figure anything out.
Oh, okay.
If it's something you can do with a barbecue and some like salads and things like that, kind of, the sky is the limit at that point.
Right.
I think it's important if you're doing catering, if you're doing weddings and events, to be pretty flexible and open-minded, and I think that goes both ways, of course. But I don't know. I like a challenge personally. I know Job does too. He loves a challenge. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've had Job on before, actually once before, and he's knee deep. He started off as a new entrepreneur, and he's grown and grown. And have you found the same thing is happening with yourself? Is that it's starting to take off, and people are starting to book you?
It's of course very terrifying, but
entrepreneurship
in a
usually
good
is.
way. Yeah, well, I've had the idea of the restaurant for so long. But to start seeing it appear on a business card, or to talk to people about it, or, to really start to sell a product and start to do events, it's very intimidating, but it's very exciting as well, to see something come to fruition. And I'm very excited about the next steps, and yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Sure.
I've learned a lot from Job as well. He's a very impressive person.
Yes, he is. He certainly is. So with yourself, are you hiring staff, or do you have staff already that assist you with events?
Right now, for instance, with the pop-up, I'm actually partnering with Job.
Okay.
So the pop-up will be presented in part by Busy Day Chefs. So we're sort of sharing resources on that front. In terms of staffing for the restaurant, I'm quite a bit away from opening the doors. So at this point, it's sort of an unofficial scouting time, where I'm just sort of keeping my eyes open and talking to people and sort of making unofficial plans in my head for who I think will be the right fit. I mean, for me, the emphasis, of course, I am a cook, so I always want to talk about the food, and it's very easy for me to talk about the food. But in terms of owning a restaurant, the hospitality aspect of the restaurant is really my main focus when it comes to hiring.
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to de-empathize the importance of the cooking, but it's really important that people are able to feel comfortable in the restaurant, to me.
Right.
I don't want people to feel that they're burdening staff, or that their needs are not being met, or that they're uncomfortable, or that they don't understand the menu or anything like that. So with things like hiring, to me, I'm right now just really, really thinking about the types of personalities that will need to be a part of the restaurant to make it as inviting and homey and comfortable as possible for as many type of people as possible, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, you could always hire some grandmas.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
If are your grandmothers both still around?
No, they've both
Okay.
passed on. Yeah. And so that was really a big part of kind of getting the wheels in motion for this idea, as well as I lost them both, and I miss them, of course, very much. And a lot of this concept really is sort of in honor of them, and I'm hoping that the restaurant will sort of carry on their vibe of hospitality, right? And that's kind of what I'm gunning for the feel of the restaurant.
Sure.
I don't really want you to feel like you're, necessarily. I don't want you to worry about what you're wearing or like what you're supposed to know about wine or like, you know what I mean? I don't want there to be any pretension to it at all. I really want everyone to feel welcome and comfortable.
I can almost see your space. I can see walking in and seeing these checkered tablecloths and the organic looking flowers in the center of the table, and it's just such a soft atmosphere. It'd be really comforting and cozy, really.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question about your food, the recipes. Are you open to, if someone says, "Hey, I have a fantastic recipe. I'd love to send it to you, and you take a look at it."
I love that.
You love that.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so it's EthelAndMarys.com.
Yes, and you can get to our Facebook page, the Instagram. I love Instagram, so I'm on there, and my email's on there as well, and I'm very open to conversation. I think that's what food is. Food is. It's like music. It's just a never-ending conversation of humanity, right? So the whole concept of sharing recipes is super fun, and a lot of the things that I've been trying to do, like I've been selling dulse bread at a few
unique
markets.
Okay.
And I got that out of an old collection of New Brunswick recipes.
Wow.
It's something I never heard of before, but obviously at some point it was prevalent enough here to end up in this cookbook. So to me, I essentially just wanted to carry on the conversation by making it again, So I really like that aspect of like passing things down. My mother has my grandmother's recipes. Of course, she won't part with them, but I'm allowed to take pictures of them and take them home.
Nice.
But that whole aspect of it, a lot of the things that I want to cook are straight out of my grandmother's recipes and my memories of things that they made that they wouldn't write down and things like that. And just recipe collections, I've been collecting New Brunswick cookbooks anywhere that I can. So I just got a big pile of awesome ones from Dave Schutt's bookseller. So
awesome.
Shout out to them. If you want to send me your favorite family recipes, amazing. Yeah, that'll be great.
Awesome. Well, this is fantastic. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And once you're up and running and you've got some great amount of success going on, I'll have you back on and we'll talk about how popular your restaurant's going to be.
That sounds like a plan.
Thank you very much, Matthew.
Thank you so much, Heather.
So stay tuned, and right after the break, we're going to be back with Henry Yates. And thank you so much for staying tuned to listen to my next guest. His name is Henry Yates, and he's with Enzo Beverage Company. And we're going to learn a little bit about this. Welcome, Henry.
Thank you very much, Heather.
You look all stiff. You're not stiff. You're not nervous being on television.
Relaxed.
Good, good. Well, we have lots of wine in case we are.
Well, that helps you get relaxed.
So, Henry, you've created something here. It's not new to the market. Wine, everybody's had wine in their day, and maybe not, but most probably have. But this is a unique twist. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and what Enzo is?
Yeah, sure. So Enzo, we're a brand new startup here out of St. John, New Brunswick.
Okay.
And what we're specializing in right now as our first key beverage is a small 250 ml single serve size canned wine. And what we're hoping to do is improve the sociability and the portability of wine.
Okay.
And, so that's where we're going.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your the labeling of wine.
Sure. Yeah, so these are our latest labels. We have 4 products. So one's a Pinot Grigio, we have a Pinot Noir, a Cabernet Sauvignon, and a Chardonnay.
Sure. Hold them up a little bit there,
our first
Henry.
one is our Warrior can, so it's Chardonnay. And then the next one is our hashtag retreat Pinot Noir.
That's nice.
And we kind of color coded a bit. So red's your red wine.
Sure.
White's your blue.
Okay.
Laughing Buddha Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
Yeah. And then lastly, my favorite is hashtag Bliss, which is a Pinot Grigio.
I love it.
Yeah.
So why, Henry? Why canned wine?
Why canned wine? That's a good question. People ask me that a lot, like where the idea kind of come from. And it happened, I was working in Fredericton, and a friend of mine I was working with works on the side with a guy who was doing this mobile canning.
Okay.
So he travels around to microbreweries and cideries and things like that, and he cans all their product for them. And Salee was working for him on the side and kind of got talking to me about it, and I was really interested because I had always been into the microbrew world and wine world as well. I worked at Taps, back in the day, and Salee tells me that.
Were you the tester at Taps?
No, I was the assistant brewer with Wendy Papadopoulos, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's with Big Tide now, of course.
You were a tester first, weren't you?
Okay, I did a little bit of testing.
I did a little bit of testing. It's all good. I'm just pulling your leg.
No, it's good. I did. And that's actually where I fell in love with craft beer, was at Taps, actually. So, and then so Salee told me that he had the next $1 million idea.
Okay.
And
wow.
I said, okay, well, what is it? Yeah, I said, how could I pass this up?
Right.
Let's hear it. And he talked about canned wine. So what I did was I took the idea, chewed on it for a few weeks, looked into it, and what I found was a growing market.
Wow.
So it's a market that grew by 126% in 2016 in North America. And then when I was working through the venture validation program, it had grown another 60% just in the US. And although it's here in Canada, it really hasn't taken off yet.
The canned wine?
The canned wine. It's coming. It's coming across North America, and there is a few here in New Brunswick now.
Yeah.
But I would say it hasn't reached its fullest potential yet.
Well, I don't understand why. Because really, is there a difference with a canned wine as it is a bottled wine? I find it's easier to carry. It's lighter.
Yeah.
You're not worrying about breaking glass. You don't have to search around for the nearest rock to break the top open because you can't get the cork out of the wine.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's very portable.
Yes.
So, you can kind of sneak it in your back pocket if you had to. So, why? Why not? Why is it not popular?
I think some of it has to do with kind of the tradition around wine. I'm always careful when I say this because I don't want to. You don't want.
No, this is not to upset anybody.
Exactly, I don't want to upset anyone.
Any wine connoisseurs. That's
right.
for sure.
So there is there's that tradition around wine where wine is in a bottle and it cork, and you think about all the stuff they went through when they went to screw caps.
Right.
There's still some purist who wouldn't even like that.
No.
When you're actually looking at the can itself, it's actually a good vessel. It's airtight. It doesn't allow UV penetration. So in essence, it should be a better vessel. And the other thing is, because a lot of people are always worried about that it might taste tinny.
Right, because of it being in a tin can.
Exactly. And so what they've done is they've actually come up with a technology where they test the wine for its acidity and things like that. And they actually come up with a special spray for the inside. So it's almost like a plastic resin spray.
So it's a liner.
Exactly.
To the inside of the can.
Yeah. So the wine never actually touches the can. If it does, it would rust through, within a few months. So you quickly know it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So will wine actually corrode through a can, or it will?
It will.
And untreated. So that's why the plastic is on the inside.
Yeah.
Is the beer the same way, or is it just wine?
No, beer's not the same because the acidity levels are different.
Okay.
The carbonation ends up bringing the acidity up, pH up, so it changes it. Wine, so to take you back, you want to go back to the history a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
So this idea, I'll tell you how old this is, because some people actually think I invented this, and that's just not the case at all.
You're amazing.
Yeah, no, not at all. So back in the 1930s is when they first started trying to can wine, because it was practical. Yeah,
wow.
It's a practical.
That's how I look at it.
Vessel, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was it rusted through. There was big messes and things like that. And then it was not until the 1990s that a company over in Europe patented the technology that allowed us to do this. So they did the spray that goes on the inside, and it's called like VinSafe or something like that. And now, even today, when I order cans, I have to send my wine away first so that it's tested, and they make a spray specifically for that wine.
Oh, wow.
And that company will not sell you cans unless you've had that certificate.
Is
That's how
right?
strict they are. Yeah, because what'll happen is, your cans will end up rusting or leaking, and they could be on pallets and things like that. It could create unsafe
Sure.
situations and just overall mess, right? So.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So is it going to be sold individually, or are you going to have sort of packaging, like a 4 to 6 packaging, kind of like they do with like little beer beverages, or what's your
Yeah.
thoughts to those?
Yeah, my thoughts around this is what we're going for is we're trying to create that craft beer experience. So
Okay.
what we want people to do is the same thing they do with craft beer, is to walk into the AMBL stores, go in with a variety pack, and be able to pick out, a white one, a red one from Australia, one from New Zealand, one from Italy, one from France, one from US, and kind of take it home and enjoy a variety of wines instead of being kind of stuck with a big bottle of one, say Pinot Noir.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the thing we're going for. So we're not looking at package like 6 packs or 4 packs. We're looking at a variety pack right now.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
and what we
Okay.
want to do is if you can imagine, some type of a display where our family is there of wines, and people can just keep picking them. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep cycling through different wines as quick as we can.
Okay.
So, we'll have a few staples that everyone
Yes.
can rely on, kind of like craft beer, but then have a few rotating, almost like a rotating tap.
Oh, okay.
So you'll rotate some wines in and let people have an experience and maybe try something that they haven't tried before.
That's true.
So-
And I'm sorry, what was the ounceage again?
The ounces it's a 9 ounce, so
It's
it
a
would be
9
your
ounce.
big, like a large glass of wine at a restaurant.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So this is a really good way, and your pricing it is going to be very reasonable as well.
Yeah, we're trying to get there.
Just a ballpark.
Yeah, it's ballpark. You're in that $7 range. Like we're literally trying to put a $20 bottle of wine in a can. So
Sure.
kind of that 20 divided by 3. You're in that
Oh, yeah.
range, right? And there is one right now in the New Brunswick market that is there.
Okay.
It's $7 and plus
Sure.
tax, and it's a good wine. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just think it's great. It's bringing variety to an opportunity,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So
Yeah.
you get to enjoy it. And I agree with you about, we're not trying to change the way people receive wine or accept wine. This is just another way people can enjoy wine when they're traveling or at their cottage or wherever
Yeah.
they may be. It's just
Absolutely.
more portable, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little thing I'd like to ask you about, Henry, is that you're an entrepreneur
Yeah.
in business. So can you tell us a little bit about that side of your
Sure.
entrepreneurship adventures?
Yeah, it's been an adventure so far. We're only a month and 2 weeks into doing this full time. I started this process back in May, but then kind of quit my job and went full time and started
Wow.
working at Connection Works in their incubator just back in September.
Oh yeah, because you were with the Navigator program, which
Exactly.
is Enterprise St. John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been fun, and one of the things, I thank those guys every day. I can't seem to thank them enough. Is to be able to get in there with those, those mentors and things like that, and to validate an idea to
Yeah.
a point where you can actually say, yes, you should jump off the cliff and do this.
Right.
That really gave me the confidence to do this, because I had people like Dan Doron and Rivers Corbett and Greg Fleet and Lucas and Dakota all kind of going, yeah, this can be real. You can do this.
Wow.
And,
And you're like,
here we
"Really?"
are. Yeah, no, I was like, really? And kind of thinking about it. But the more I explored it, the more confidence I got. And, we've learned a lot of lessons so far. It's lessons every day. I mean, you would know that, you're an entrepreneur yourself. So,
Yes.
I was talking to Brent and John outside, and we talked about you take a process, if you're working in like a more mature business,
Yes.
that's a macro world. We're
Right.
we're a micro, and
Right.
things change hourly almost. So I'll have good news, bad news, good news, bad news, and then you need to adjust. And that's all we're doing. We're adjusting, and we're solving problems hourly. That's
Wow. Is it everything that you hope to sign up for?
yeah, it's been great.
Is it? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the biggest lesson I learned, so I'm working with a fantastic company called The Flint, who is
Okay.
working with me on my marketing. And Charlie Bartlett runs that company, and I learned a valuable lesson. As kind of the founder and CEO, right? So we were branding, and I wasn't happy with the direction. But what happened was, instead of just kind of, saying yes and going with what I wanted, they explained to me why they wanted to go this direction. And
they educated you.
I learned a fantastic lesson of surrounding yourself with excellence and really rely on them. And it took a little bit. I had to, just kind of back off and say, you know what, I'm going to let those guys do their job. That's what they're good at. I'm a supply chain operations guy. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more happy. It's been received well. I love it. I'm proud of what we've, what we have to get out to customers now.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly the labeling and the look has a classic design to it.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be able to hit a lot of different personalities with the labeling.
Right.
It's not too loud and in your face. It's very subtle, but it's very much like, this is what I am.
Yeah.
It's very presented.
A little
So it's really
timeless,
good.
and we're having a little bit of fun with it with the hashtags and
I love
things
that.
like that, and the yoga pose, right? So.
Drink wine when yoga.
Yeah, drink wine
So
and yoga.
do the hashtags mean, like, if you hashtag bliss, does that mean that if you take a picture and you hashtag it, then you're collecting like all these
Exactly.
cool pictures?
Yeah, so
Is
if
that-
someone's out
okay.
and they're traveling, let's say they're in wherever, out, like we saw people in the last couple of weeks going out to orchards and things like that, and you take a hashtag retreat with you and take a picture and share it, and we'll collect all that and take a look at what you're doing and share it ourselves. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
really neat.
that's the plan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And how many other labels or selections are you thinking, like, in the next few years, would you be interested in? If you had the perfect world, where would you like
Sure.
to go with it?
Our goal would be a new type of wine coming in monthly.
Monthly.
That's
Wow.
the goal.
Okay.
And there's a little bit of process that we have to figure out with that. So there's, we're in a heavily regulated industry, so there's processes to bringing your product and commercializing it.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to get that running very smoothly and have a new one arriving every month would be our goal.
Okay. We've got about another minute and a half. Can you tell us a little bit about the name? Where does Enzo come from?
Sure. And Enso is a Buddhist symbol.
Okay.
It means enlightenment and kind of finding the void, and people, you look at it all the time about it's around meditation and things like that. And the way we picked our name was my wife. So my wife is Buddhist, and she actually has this tattooed on her forearm.
Nice.
And
That's cool.
So she has the Enso symbol with Buddha sitting in it, and that's how we picked the name. And I thought it was beautiful, and seeing as how I'm not real creative when it comes to that. I had a very robotic name at first, and I did.
It's good that you have creative people around you. It sounds like these cans might have been very regimented and labels very straight.
They were. Yeah.
It has a nice flow to it now.
Yeah. No. And I appreciate that, because that's people are good at that. I'm not. And
Sure.
we have to just let them do their job.
Awesome. Well, listen, Henry, thank you so much for introducing your new product to us.
Thank you, Heather.
Here on What Matters Most, because that matters most.
Thank you.
I am a craft beer drinker, and I would definitely try your wines once they're ready to go.
Great. November 22nd.
November 22nd. Awesome.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, everybody look for those on the shelves when you're out shopping. Stay tuned. Next we will have up is Brent, and he is with the Tool Library, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned with me tonight. That was Henry Yates with Enzo Bottling and Wine, which is actually not bottling, it's actually canning. So I got that corrected. Okay, now with me tonight is Brent Harris. Hi, Brent.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah,
So
good
you're
to
the St. John version of Tim the Tool Man.
I'm up there. I've been called many things. Tim the Tool Man is one. The St. John Tool Shed was another. I said, no, I'm not a moving building.
No.
I'm a person, and I have a name. But yep, that's me.
Now, you're fairly tall, so I don't think anybody should be calling you Tim the Tool Man.
He's a short
right?
guy,
Yeah. How tall are you?
6.5 feet tall, which sounds better in metric because it's 2 meters.
2 meters.
Exactly
there you go.
2 meters tall. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And you would know that because if you're going to the tool library, you can measure you out, right?
That's right. We got both. Yeah, that's right.
So tell us a little bit about the St. John Tool Library. I
Yeah.
think it's a great idea.
Yep.
A lot of times when people live uptown, they don't have places to store tools.
Yep.
I've always thought, geez, if I could just go to somewhere and just rent something
Yeah.
to use for the day or the weekend, tell us, is that what you're
Yeah.
doing?
Well, exactly. I mean, essentially, it's like that. I always like to start with the why. And, you know, quite honestly, like I live in the south end of the city, which many people would know it's a pretty mixed bag of a neighborhood, right? There's some really amazing heritage quality architecture there, really old buildings, like great stuff. The Queen Square Market's there, and that's doing great. But then, you know, you walk around a corner and you're like, holy smokes, that's a boarded up home. Like that one looks like it was half burnt down. That one, I wouldn't want to know what's in there. It doesn't even look like it should be standing, right?
Right.
So there's it's a mixed bag of a neighborhood, and all of our cities sort of face that at some point in time. But a bunch of us were just getting together. We had a little group that met Thursday mornings, and we were all sort of saying like, what the heck can we do in this community? And so one day I was up on Princess Street. I was working for Catapult Construction. I was their project coordinator for a period of time. So this was a little interim position that I took with them while they were trying to get things going. And somebody asked me, you know, can I borrow your sawhorses? And like I've been asked for people to borrow a saw or something, but they said sawhorses.
Right.
So I said, sure, man. Really? What do you need to do? He's like, you wouldn't believe this. I've got some tools, but I have no space, and I really just need to get some stuff out of my living room, because they were trying to cut out some shelves and build some shelves in their living room.
Oh, you're kidding.
So I left them with the sawhorses, and I was a little bit like, oh man, I wonder if I'll ever see them again.
Right.
So I kept working. I was up on Princess Street, and then sure enough, the gentleman came back 2 hours later, and from there, that's sort of, I got a head going like, okay, here's a guy. He literally just brought them back. You know, this neighborhood, you never know. Someone could have just walked away with them.
Right.
But he asked, and I did, and he did something with them. And that's sort of the idea. And I stumbled upon this idea of tool libraries.
Right.
And so that's sort of the why. Is we were looking around and seeing these homes. Not everybody can afford a carpenter. Mm-hmm. But people want to, you know, capitalize some of the energy they see in the city. There's so many new developments happening. I left for 5 years and lived in Toronto. It's a whole new city since I came back a couple of years ago.
That's very refreshing to hear that.
And so and we were, and I was like, okay, well, people want in on this. They want a nice home, and that does something to somebody when they see a nice home, and it does something to somebody when they see a rundown home.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize, like, when you're walking into a neighborhood, if you see a broken window, and there's a whole theory called the broken window theory. And it basically says, if you see that broken window, the likelihood of more vandalism, of thievery, robbery, of even up to murder. Wow. All those are measurable metrics that we see increase just with one broken window.
Wow.
That's decades of research. So it's like, it does something to someone to see that. So what do we have as far as infrastructure in our city to take care of it? We can't wait around for the government to throw us a bunch of money.
No.
And we can't just all hire a carpenter.
No.
So this was sort of how the thing started. But
excellent.
yeah.
So, Brent, if somebody was not quite capable of doing something, will you have somebody like to help somebody cut wood, or will you show them, like, do you have courses, or do you have ladies with tools, or
yeah, we do.
Like, I'm just putting that out there, but that's because I'm asking. So
sure.
I'll let you tell me.
Yeah. Well, you're an interior designer right here, so you've done some of this yourself. But we have a few different ways that we operate. So we are not a nonprofit, which some people are like, well, it sounds like a nonprofit. It's called a social enterprise, a bit of a new thing on this market, in the sense that we live like we operate like a business on paper. Yeah. We have a board, and we live like a co-op almost. Okay. So it's strange. It's a bit of an experiment, I will say. We did hammer it out with folks at Enterprise St. John, like Henry was talking about earlier. So again, we're trying to innovate here. But we have a few ways that we can help people. One is their memberships. So for an annual membership starting at $90 for the year, which if you think about it, one impact is $90, right? For a drill, it's $90. So for less than one tool, you're getting access to right now about 720 tools.
That's incredible.
Yeah, everything from a set of wrenches right up to a drywall lift.
Wow.
So everything, and then a lot of chainsaws are there, hedge trimmers, and wheelbarrows, like anything you might need for a half hour, but don't have room to store.
Okay.
So there's that part, and then we have a shop. Yep. So then we've got some tinker types who they want to hammer out those shelves, or they want to use our cabinet saw or our planers and joiner to do some woodworking. And that's there for them. We have a couple different memberships for them. Yeah. We do classes. So we do one-on-one coaching stuff. And then we also offer group classes. Okay. Sort of experimenting there on what's going to work better. We had some lady members early on who said we want our own night just to come in with the girls and work, and then go out afterwards.
Do they drink wine?
They don't do it. We said, look, we'll get you a deal at the 5 and dime on wine later, but don't drink while you use the cabinet saw, please.
Well, I'm sure Henry hasn't left the building
yet. No, he
hasn't.
He's still got some wine. So, that's another way. And then, so we're up to about 84 members at this point in time.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, because I know it's still a new thing, right? So when did you open your doors again? What was the date? date?
June 16th.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got that many members already.
I know,
That's insane.
And yeah, and we're right on track actually. I mean, we're actually shooting a little higher than we thought we'd be. We said, okay, in order for us to live, we need so many members and we need so many classes and we need so many things by certain times. And in September we needed 60.
Wow.
And by December we're hoping for around 120. So hoping to double by December. Around the 250 is when we can start to breathe again. We can say, all right, we might actually not go bankrupt doing this, right?
Right,
But I mean, when you think about the demographics in the old homes, especially, like somebody was telling me, in the St. John proper region, most of the housing stock, like we're talking like 65, 70%, is pre-1940. Wow. So there's no way around it. You're going to have to swing a hammer at that thing at some point in time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Do you have any delivery service, like if somebody needed a wheelbarrow and they couldn't get it to their home? Can you help people with that situation if they're not too far away?
Exactly. I mean, I don't really want to haul stuff at Browns Flats.
No,
but,
you might as well go buy one.
That's right, at that point in time. But absolutely, in the Uptown area, we haven't advertised that very much. We've had one person ask about it, and I've got a truck. Actually, my board member, the chair of my board lets me use the truck most of the time. Happens to be my dad too, so that's a great connection to have.
That's awesome.
But then Alex, one of the other staff who joined us really early on, he has a truck. So we've done that before in the past. We don't really charge for that, but if we're going to Browns Flats, we're probably going to charge somebody.
For sure. We're not going to accommodate every situation.
No, that's right.
No. So whereabouts are you? If you're walking down the street, tell me where you are.
Yeah, so we're by the old fire station on Union Street.
On Union Street, okay.
So that's 160 Union Street. So when you're coming up Union Street from the Aquatic Center, which a lot of people are familiar with that landmark, you'll eventually just get to that
you
corner.
pass the Loyalist House.
That's right, past the Loyalist House, past the liquor store, and then right around that corner is us. And so, I mean, that street is interesting because even us landing there, we originally wanted to move in after Tim Kresman, who had Elwood's Wood Lab.
Oh yes.
I was talking to Tim really early on, and he was super jazzed about the whole thing. And I was like, Tim, you need to be one of my coaches and teachers, like in doing classes. And he said, I'd love to. But it also sort of was working out for them to go back to BC around the same time that we were starting up. Mm-hmm. So he gave us a great deal on a lot of his tools. I was trying to get right into his space. Right. That wasn't working for us, so we were like, what are we going to be? And we ended up on Union. But of course, the street has a mixed bag of a history, and it's been run down, but now it's starting to come back. There's a lot of development happening there. There's a few businesses that are opening up there besides us. The Holly and Ken Singh just bought the fire station. They've got plans for that, so.
No, this is good.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of traction, like foot traffic going back and forth, right? So people are going to be popping in and saying, what's going on? So you have to post your courses right in the front windows.
Yeah, we haven't, you're right. We haven't done that yet. We keep it on a whiteboard, but that would be a good idea.
I'll come down and see you. We'll talk.
Yeah, that's right. Give me some pointers.
Well, this is really exciting. I am so pleased that the tool library is now here in existence and up and running successfully. So I'm just around the corner from you, so I'm going to have to pop in and see what's going on and maybe pick up on a couple of classes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So to sign up for your classes, you would go to?
Yeah, so our websites right now, this is another interesting story. I know I got a lot of them, but we had an architect come from Taiwan who actually, he was in between his work visa. And so he was trying to, build furniture in his living room type, had some time that he was trying to work, and he just said, I want to build your whole website. So he actually equipped our whole website to be able to handle all the class traffic, all of our membership products and stuff. So it's right on sjtl.ca.
sjtl.ca.
Like St. John Tool Library.
Yes. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Brent.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will definitely have you back eventually.
Awesome.
Thanks, build something. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. And the last person up will be Jim with Toastmasters, and we'll hear all about what's going on in the city. Thank you so much for sticking with me tonight and What Matters Most. Whoops, almost going to break the desk. But we are here with Jim Kokowski, and he is with Toastmasters St. John. And welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm so glad I'm sitting here and not knocking the desk down tonight. Well, hold it on. So Toastmasters, tell us what Toastmasters is up to. Toastmasters has been around a long time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's Toastmasters is a network of clubs all around the world in about 145 countries. Here in southern New Brunswick, we've got about 5 or 6 local clubs that accept members, and it's an environment where people come to practice their communication and leadership skills. So we've got a structured learning system that where people come and participate. They can join at any time and jump on the development track and become stronger communicators and leaders.
I love that. And you have many chapters, I believe. So like you have a morning group, an afternoon group, an evening group. So if you can't make one of them, you could probably get to one of your classes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We've got in southern New Brunswick, there's 3 clubs that meet in the evening, one that meets at lunchtime, one that meets early morning, 7:15 to 8:30 on Tuesday mornings. So there's lots of opportunities for people to find a chance to come out and work on their self-development.
Right, right. And how many people have gone through Toastmasters that you remember, and roughly how many members do you have?
Oh my gosh, well, the typical club's got between 15 to 30 members. So any particular meeting, 50 to 75% will be in the room, so it varies what people will see. Around the world, it's over 5-6 million since we started in 1924.
Wow,
but,
1924.
Yeah, honestly. Well, yes, it was incorporated back in 1924 in California, but so as I mentioned, we're in 145 countries around the world, and we've got some great alumni in southern New Brunswick, including
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and I must say that I believe a lot of my Toastmasters practice and public speaking and speaking in front of a group and organizing speech has really helped me in my career, and also doing television, because you don't get a second chance to say what we have here on TV. So, yeah, they don't clip it out and say, oh, yeah, take this piece. No, it's live. So you have to certainly come to a certain level of calmness. And I noticed that with going through the Toastmasters practices, and they had the lights, and which kind of is like, okay, we got to wrap this up really quick, but still get your message across. So are they still using those tools today?
We do, and I'd like to comment. I've come to realize over the years that if you want to be a strong speaker or leader, you need 3 things: you need knowledge, you need practice, and you need feedback. So the knowledge about public speaking can come from short-term courses or university courses, books and videos, TED Talks, YouTube videos. The knowledge is available in many places, but as you've come to realize through participation, this is a skill that needs practice. So I like to mention LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world, and he practices free throws on a regular basis. So if you want to be a strong speaker, you need to be in a position in front of a television mic or in front of an audience where you're choosing a message and delivering it to folks. And the final component is you need feedback. You need a coach or a mentor or a Toastmaster club who will give you feedback on your strengths and opportunities for improvement. So if anybody wants to be strong at communicating or leading, they need the knowledge, the practice, and the feedback.
Oh, fantastic. And what kind of experiences have you seen people come out of with the Toastmasters? Because it's not just meeting with the group, and there's a lot of interesting bonds that people will create with meeting new people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a motivated group that comes to Toastmasters, right? It's people who are successful or to desire to make some changes, and so they're self-motivated, so they're wonderful people to connect with. I looked at my personal experience. I was a computer programmer at NBTEL way back in the day, and 2 engineers visited my desk and said, "You're a pretty smart guy, and you say nothing in meetings." I joked about that. They didn't say you're a really smart guy. They said you're a pretty smart guy. And, but it was true. I didn't participate in meetings, so they brought me to Toastmasters, and in that supportive environment, my skills and confidence really grew and blossomed. So there's many stories like that I've observed, and people around the world who've gone through similar experiences.
Really? Can you name some of the more maybe well-known people that have come out of Toastmasters? And well-known, I know that there have been a few that I can think of.
Yes. Well, on a worldwide basis, I look at the chief marketing officer for Google is one of our chief advocates down in Silicon Valley. There's a lady named Erin Grewal, who people may be familiar with. She wrote The Freedom Writers,
oh, yes.
And there was a movie made about her.
Yeah.
So she attributes much of her success to Toastmasters. There's been lots of politicians who've gone through the program. So yeah, lots of people have been through. I must say, we're really not strong at keeping in contact with alumni, but yeah, there's been a lot of people who've benefited by participating.
Yes, oh, for sure. And with your group, is it a group that you can go through like for 6 months or 8 months, or how much participation on the participant side is needed?
Yeah, it's interesting. So every Toastmaster club runs regular meetings, weekly or bi-weekly, but the program, the educational program, is self-paced. So some people will go faster than others, and some people will want to go very quickly, some more slowly. So I'd invite anybody who's interested to understand that environment, and it is a unique learning environment, to come and visit and see how it works, and be informed. They may want to participate themselves, or they may know people who need what we offer. But yeah, that's an important concept, that people can start and end at any time.
So if somebody wants to contact Toastmasters, it's toastmasters.org.
Correct, www.toastmasters.org.
Okay. And is that, do you have Facebook too?
Most of the local clubs have Facebook, yes. So,
Yeah. But they would be like certain chapters, would they?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So there's, from my knowledge, I believe there's a Harborside chapter.
Yeah, in St. John, there's St. John Club, which chartered in 1954. There's a Rising Tide that meets Tuesday mornings on 7:15. Harborside lunchtime on Wednesdays. Kennebec is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And there's a club in Sussex as well, Thursday night, 7 p.m.
Fantastic.
Yes.
My goodness. So where do you want to take Toastmasters from here?
Well, we'll keep on doing what we're doing. We love seeing people come in and practice their skills and develop their confidence. And the best marketing we've got is people who've transformed through participation, and people who might have been awkward communicators suddenly become very strong communicators.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim. This has been really educational for me, for everyone else about Toastmasters, and I hope that you'll have many more years of success.
Thank you, Heather.
And thank you very much for joining us this evening. We've had Jim Kokowski on, we've had Brent Harris, Henry Yates, and of course, Matt Elliott. And thank you to the volunteers, thank you to you watching, and have a safe and great evening.